What's up, you guys? I'm gonna play 5-5-10 at the Gardens today, so hit that intro.
Cheers.
With the guy Brantzen, who has the Brantzen poker logs.
Let's go. Let's go.
Tell him he's got a lot of class, and it's all low.
I'm a pretty low-key guy, so I don't like to tell the story a lot, but a number of years ago, I was actually on a major network television show. Well, it's deja vu when I pick up a couple of ladies in the small blind. Action folds to the button, who opens to $60, which is pretty massive, 6 times the blind. Well, I'm still always 3-betting here with pocket queens. Normally when I'm 3-betting from out of position, I'll go 4 times the raise, but since this is such a big open, I'm going a bit smaller. I raise to $200, folds back to the button. He short stack and goes all in for $340. Easy call. Board runs out 5, queen, 8, king, 5. He flips over ace, jack of hearts, and I take the final rose. I move 1 seat over as a new player comes in. He's a pretty tight and passive player, so I don't mind him sitting on my left. He most likely won't be putting me in a lot of difficult spots. In general, I like action and aggressive players on my right, so I can be in position of them, and tighter players on my left. I pick up king jack off on the straddle, the Lojack limps, the hijack raises to $45, and the button flat calls. I think about all 3 options. I could fold since I'm out of position and could easily be dominated here. I can call, but with the Lojack limping quite frequently and the button just flat calling, I'm really only worried about the hijack. I think there's a lot of dead money to be won. I go for aggression. I 3-bet to $220. Lojack folds, hijack folds, button folds, and just like that, I make $100. I see a table with better action and less pros, so I make the switch. I buy in for roughly $500 for the first bomb pot and pick up king, queen of diamonds in middle position. Everyone's off to a flop of king, 8-5 rainbow. I have top pair with a good kicker, so when the action checks to me, I start off with a bet of $75. Only the hijack calls, and we're heads up to the 4 of diamonds on the turn. In my experience, people often raise in a bomb pot with 2 pair or better, so unless he has 6-7, I likely have the best hand. Either way, the reason I only buy in for $500 for the first bomb pot is so I have the option to play it more aggressively, go for thinner value, so I continue betting. I bet $200. Well, he thinks about it for about 20 seconds and says, I hate these spots. What is it, $200? Okay, I call. I only have $195 left in my stack, so when he just calls, I'm almost certain I have the best hand. The river is a 10. I go all in. He thinks, then makes the call. I show, and he shows king 8 for a worse kicker, and I take it down. Next, I get pocket 10s in the Lojack. The under the gun limps. I raise to $45. The hijack calls, cutoff calls, under the gun limper calls were 4 ways to a flop of deuce 8-6 rainbow. This is quite an ideal board for me with no cards over a 10, so when the under the gun checks, I bet $100. I'm happy to take it down, but nope, the cutoff goes all in for $260. Folds back to me for $160 more. I'm never folding. I call. My opponent doesn't look too thrilled, so I just show. The board runs out 3 jack, and he mucks. Sometimes there are a lot of aggressive opponents to look out for, but sometimes you're the only predator. I pick up ace-queen on the straddle, the under the gun, small blind, and big blind limp. I'm going full apex. I raise to $75. Only the small blind calls, and we're heads up to a flop of 4-5-8 rainbow. The small blind checks. He only has a little over a pot-sized bet left in his stack. I might have the best hand right now. I might not. I just rip it all in for maximum fold equity, and he folds. Next, I get ace-queen again, this time on the Lojack, and the under-the-gun player makes a tiny open to $20. Occasionally, I'll see this from a monster hand, similar to a limp raise from early position. I 3-bet to $75. If the under-the-gun re-raises, I'll just assume he has a huge hand, but that's not what happens. The hijack calls and the under-the-gun calls. 3 ways to a flop of jack 4-3 with 2 hearts, and the under-the-gun checks. As the pre-flop aggressor, you might feel compelled to c-bet in this spot. Especially watching poker vlogs, you often see us fight for pots. But for the most part, we're only showing you the hands that are significant, the hands that we actually fought for. At least for me, there's a lot of multi-way pots where I have very little equity that I just give up on, even 3-bet pots. It might not be glamorous, but avoiding stone cold bluffs in multi-way pots is a big way to save yourself money in the long run. Okay, so I check, it checks through, and the turn is an 8. The under the gun bets $210. I fold. The hijack goes all in for $600. The under the gun calls. Under the gun has Jack 9 of hearts for top pair and a flush draw, and the hijack wins with pocket 8s for a turned set. This hand is just a reminder that it's okay to give up, even when you're the pre-flop aggressor, even when you 3-bet, and especially in multi-way pots. Moving on, I pick up 8-10 of diamonds in the big blind. Action folds all the way to the small blind, who limps. I bump it up to $45. The straddle and small blind both call. 3 ways to a flop of 4, 5, 8 rainbow. I have top pair and could use some protection, so I bet $50 and only the small blind calls. The turn is a 7, completing the rainbow, and the small blind leads out for $120. This card is pretty bad in my opinion. I think small blind is calling the flop with a lot of pair plus draw type hands, and a lot of them now make 2 pair or straights now. I just fold. The small blind is a friend of mine, and later he told me he turned 2 pair, so good fold. A little bit later, I look down at the beautiful ace king of hearts. The under the gun limps, I raise to $45. Then the hijack calls, the cutoff calls, the button calls, the big blind calls, the straddle calls. What is this? These people give me no respect.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway.
All right, so after that disaster, the under the gun limper, he doesn't call. He goes all in for $630. Normally, a limp raise from early position would look really, really strong, but given this situation, he could just be tempted by all this dead money. Either way, I have a really strong hand myself. I go all in for over $1,300, and everyone else folds. We decide to run it twice. First board comes 7, 10, 8, 4, 6. Nothing there for me. Second board comes 9, queen, 4, 3, king. Thank goodness we hit a king, because my opponent flips over pocket deuces, and we were 1 card away from being scooped. We chop the pot, and we both take a little profit. Last hand of the vlog, and it is a big one. I pick up ace jack off in the big blind. The hijack opens to $35. The button calls, and the action is on me. If I was in the straddle closing the action, I might just make the call, but I think here the best decision is to 3-bet. I make it $175 to go. The hijack folds, but surprisingly, the button calls. Heads up to a flop of ace 8, 8 rainbow, and here's my first decision point. There aren't any draws on this board, so I'm either way ahead or way behind. I decide to check, see what my opponent wants to do, and he bets $200. I make the call, and the turn is a 7. Once again, I check, and once again, my opponent bets, this time $500. Oh boy, it's a hefty bet, but here's the thing. Pre-flop, the hijack opened to $35, and the button just called. He should be 3-betting a large percentage of the time when he has ace-king or even ace-queen, so he shouldn't have those hands too often right now. I don't think he'll have an 8 either, except for pocket 8s, which there's only one combination of. In addition, I've seen this particular opponent overplay with top pair and not a really good kicker, so he might very well have a weaker ace. I'm out of position, so if I have the better hand, let's just get it in now. If I'm beat, that's just the way it goes, I guess. I go all in for $940, and he starts thinking. I still don't know if I'm ahead or not, but the longer he thinks, the better I feel. And eventually, he makes the call. The river is a 9. I show my cards, and he shows ace 3 of spades. Let's go. Big pot. I play for another hour after that, but don't get into any big spots. So eventually, I rack up and cash out.
All right, you guys, that was a pretty fun session. I was in for only $800 and out for $31.61 for a profit of $23.61. Pretty fun day. I have my friend with me. We're about to head to In-N-Out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.